If you want to work in animation, then you need to get used to rejection.
Animation secrets.
So this week on Animation Secrets, I wanted to cover a topic that you're going to have to deal with at some point in your career, probably more than once, and that's the issue of rejection. And in this case, rejection can come in many forms. It could come in the form of applying for the job and just never hearing anything. It could come in the form of actually going through an interview process and then getting rejected. It could come in the form of doing freelance project, creating a bid, a proposal, storyboards, and then giving it to a client and then not winning the job. If you're going to work in animation, you are going to get rejected. That's just the nature of things. And there's actually a funny story. One of the studios I worked for who won an Oscar for Best Animated Short Film actually was rejected from the New York Children's Film Festival. I forget the exact name. Big film festival in New York. They didn't want that short film. That short film went on to win an Oscar. And then the next year, that same film festival wanted them to show the short film that they rejected the year before that ended up winning an Oscar. So anyways, rejection can come in many forms, and it may not always be the correct thing to have happened. Obviously, the New York Film Festival for children's whatever made a mistake at that point, and they tried to backtrack the next year. I've actually experienced this in many forms over the years. One kind of similar to that story is actually early on in my career, I won like $60,000 one year just from YouTube contests. And this is early YouTube days, like 2010-ish, 2009. And so where I lived in Tennessee, I called around and tried to use this as a way to bolster, my position to get a job at these agencies or what have you. And no one emailed me back.
Rejection.
I couldn't get a response from anyone. I said, hey, I've got the gear, I've got the knowledge, here's the proof. I've just won these international online contests and blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't even hear back.
Rejection.
Fast forward a few years, and I'm actually just taking a sabbatical from working in the animation industry for a few years. And I'm back in that same town. And I see openings for some freelance work. And I messaged them and I said, hey, I'm available for a few weeks and I'd like to help. I got that job, but what they told me afterward was they almost didn't respond because they thought I would be too expensive. And so in the same town, I was rejected basically probably for not having enough experience. And then a few years later, I was almost rejected again for maybe having too much experience. So you can never really control people's perception of you. In that regard, there's a lot of variables at play. And so that helps me deal with the rejection because a lot of it almost doesn't even come down to you or me. It comes down to their timing of the schedule of the project, who else obviously is applying for that, or who internally is working on it. Sometimes companies just they're obligated to list an open position, even though they have someone internally they know they're going to hire. So you may see a job posting, apply for it, and no one will ever get that job who's not the person they've already kind of picked internally, but just for, HR reasons and their company policy, they have to post it publicly. So, there's all kinds of things like that can happen that can lead to your individual rejection that actually has nothing to do with you at all. Obviously, there are times where it does have to do with you. Maybe you weren't a good candidate. Maybe you don't have enough experience. Or a range of things. But the reality is you can't let that single experience dictate how you're going to move forward and not apply anymore or something. You got to keep applying and learn from those situations if there is especially any constructive feedback from them that you can use to your advantage on the next time. Oftentimes it's just crickets and you never hear anything. And you just have to keep pushing forward in your own personal development. And know that, if you slowly improve over time, a little bit every day, that is going to accumulate into where you will eventually have enough people accepting you that those rejections don't matter. I still get rejected from stuff. What's crazy is like, I could apply, and this has happened. I've applied for a game company and to work on a game XYZ, and I went through the interview process, and they never even responded back after the interview. Didn't even get the courtesy of a, hey, you didn't get the job.
Rejection.
That same day I had that interview, I was actually offered like my dream job at ILM, working on a similar property to the video game. And so I have a video game company basically telling me I'm not good enough to work on the video game version. And then I have a visual effects studio who is basically the birthplace of visual effects animation telling me they want me to work on the movie version of a similar property. So you can't really, take all that stuff with a grain of salt you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt because you can never really control that. A lot of that stuff is out of your control, and you just need to keep moving forward and focusing on your own development so that you have the skills and knowledge to actually execute on the work when those opportunities do arise and a few of those job offers come through, that you're in a position to take advantage of it and actually excel when you do get the offer. And I talk about this a little bit in another Animation Secrets Time to Apply. Is it time to apply for an animation job? You need to have enough volume out there that all those rejections are not going to really matter. You only need one job, right? You only need to work one job, hopefully, in animation. You're not going to be working two animation jobs. So, I mean, most of the animation jobs I've applied to, I've been rejected by. That's just math. That's just the reality of working in animation. You can apply to all these jobs and you might not hear back. They might want you for only a week, but you're looking for like a year contract. So it's not a fit that way. So maybe you're even kind of rejecting them in that regard. One of my favorite stories of rejection for myself was when I applied to Sony for 4 years. I applied and contacted them about every 6 months for 4 years. And the very last time, right before I was actually hired, they told me that they are not hiring non-senior positions. And so again, I was going to have to wait another 6 months. The day after they sent me that, they said, do you want an interview? So in 24 hours, I went from my 8th rejection from them to actually getting an interview. If you want to see those kinds of emails, I actually have them in a new ebook that I have called How to Break into the Animation Industry. And it's available at ebook.digitalcreatorschool.com. Thanks for watching this Animation Secrets. I hope this was helpful in some way. Like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.